Hey guys, Foxdrop here with a video on the 3.8 patch notes changes, the new jungle changes which came out with patch 3.0, which is live at the moment. I wanted to give you guys my opinions on the patch, what it means, all that kind of stuff. Now, honestly, there's not too much to say about it, but I'll jump right into it. So these are the patch notes, and as always, all the links I'll be using in this video, they'll be in the description, so you can take a look at those yourself if you want to. But these are the patch notes, and basically all the changes that have happened is that the walls and golems have had a 10-second respawn time reduction, so they now respawn every 50 seconds as opposed to every minute. Wraiths already had this though, so they haven't changed Wraiths. They've also though changed the spawn time, the initial spawn time, to 155 from 140. So you're not going to be able to do walls and then blue, or like race and then red, because they won't spawn by then. They're going to spawn at the exact same time as your buff spawn. And well, I'll talk about the rest of the stuff first before I go into what that means. And now the red buff and blue buff give you more experience on their own. So to compensate for the fact that you don't get the minicamp before you get the blue buff or the red buff, the buffs themselves now give you more experience. So you can still do a blue buff to red buff like route, and you'll get double buff in level 3 like 3 minutes. So that really hasn't changed. My overall opinion of these changes in general is that I believe they don't really do too much to the jungling side of it. It's not a huge change. It's a nice change though. Overall, it's a nice change to the jungle in my opinion. I think it affects the dynamics of bot lane a lot more than it does the jungle, because obviously now bot lanes aren't going to get that free golem, you know, at 140. Although, you know, there's been a bit of theory crafting that would suggest it's still worth getting golems at 155 and just missing out half your bot lane minion wave. But whatever, I won't go into that in this video. But it doesn't really change the jungle too much. But there are nice changes which have put, right, it says here in the red text. I won't read it out. Like I say, you can check this out in the link in the description yourself. But they say they want to bring junglers a bit closer to being a carry, and I think it does that a little bit more. I think now that the spawn time, like the respawn times are reduced, you can spend a lot more time in the jungle and just farm. You get more access to farm, more access to gold than you did before. But the biggest change about these changes, the biggest thing to mention is the new incentivization to counter jungle. So now it is more rewarding to counter jungle than it was before. Especially the buffs. Buffs are so much more important to counter jungle now because they give so much more experience, like more than 50% more experience. So you take away a buff from someone, in the old patch it screwed them over a lot, but now it really screws them over. So if you want to counter jungle, this is like heaven right now. So all the really good counter jungling champions are pretty good right now. And it's a nice playstyle. In my opinion, this is really good because I like this playstyle. It forces you to be more aggressive, and it's like an indirect nerf to those junglers who are more passive, the people that are vulnerable to the invades. And so people like Nunu, who are the complete opposite, who just invade 24/7, are kind of broken right now. Not that Nunu wasn't already broken to begin with, but whatever. So that's my opinion. But there is something else I want to mention as well, and that is that it's kind of like a side point, I suppose. But I think that jungling now is harder than it was before. The reason why I think this is all because of the counter jungling thing. Counter jungling is not easy. It's not easy to execute. Like it requires awareness to execute and a lot of different things. So it's not easy to do, but it's not overly hard. But the really hard thing about it is dealing with counter jungling. When you are being counter jungled, that can be really difficult for you to deal with, and a lot of people don't know how to deal with it. And it's even harder if you do get behind, if you do get counter jungled, then it's really hard to come back. Like, it's really hard to deal with, and it can be very frustrating to play a jungler when that's happening to you. But do not fear, viewers. I've done a video on how to counter jungle, everything you need to know about counter jungling. I've already done a video on that, so you can watch that video, which will be on the screen and in the description now. And also, I've done a replay of a game where I get counter jungled 24/7 and how I deal with that. So you can check those two videos out. They'll probably help you dealing with counter jungling. Like I say, they're on screen now, and they'll also be in the description, so you can check those out if you want to. But another reason why it's made jungling harder is because with the respawn timers, the change in respawn timers, now you're pretty much going to have like, you can just go from camp to camp to camp to camp to camp to camp, clearing all the time, 24/7, just farming in your jungle. So whereas before you'd clear your camp and then there'd be nothing left, and so you'd be like, oh, like I'll go gank now. Like if you didn't have anything up, you'd be like, yeah, this is a good time to gank. But now that everything's going to be respawning a lot quicker, you're not really going to know when it's a good time to be ganking, when it's a good time to be doing other stuff. You know, if there was nothing in your jungle, then there was no point staying in your jungle. You'd go and do something else. But now that you can theoretically stay in the jungle all game, then, or very close to it anyway, then it makes it a bit harder on your decision making. But that's my overall opinion on 3.8 on the jungle changes. I just want to back up some my thoughts with what some other people have said, people with more credibility than me. So Stonewall here says, like I say, this link will be in the description too. He says about the changes, these changes will help farming junglers more than anything else. Junglers like Shyvana, Mordekaiser and Zed. I'd like to add in Dr. Mundo to that list as well. But they're thrilled with these changes, and now they can run up and down the jungle and just farm. And also all junglers will love the changes overall, but some will like it even more. So that's kind of like what I was saying. I think it's a nice change for junglers altogether. And he says like invaders like Nunu, aka Satan, I agree with you pretty much there, Stonewall, will love being able to march into your jungle and steal much more valuable buffs from you, because like I say, these buffs are now worth so much more. So that's what he thinks, which is what I was saying before. And if that wasn't enough, Diamond Prox, who is probably the most credible jungler out there, at least the most credible one that speaks English, or even, you know, partially English. I'll read what he says. Again, you can check this out for yourself in the description, but he says, I love it. Like, he loves the changes. Because of the jungle spawn changes, it's really awesome now that junglers are closer to being a carry. We still only have one summoner because you have to take smite, obviously, when you're jungling, and you don't have enough farm as a carry, and you're not building the best items like you would for being a carry, but you're a lot closer now. So you're not quite a carry, but it's a step in the right direction, at least in Diamond Prox's opinion. And the other thing is you're allowed to counter jungle now, because this is something which I didn't mention, but because there's a lot of camps which the enemy jungler can't kill in a second, so you can predict him and still ruin some of his camps in the jungle. So you can basically tell where he's going to be, because when you invade, there's more likely going to be camps up because they respawn quicker. So it's hard for him to cover all bases, you know, in his own jungle. Not only just with the buffs, which are now more valuable, but because there's a lot more for you to take, because it's going to be up more, you know, rather than before you could wander in and he'd already cleared his like golems. They weren't there because he was there like a minute ago, so they wouldn't be there. But now they would be there because the respawn timers are less. So that's pretty much my opinions on the 3.8 changes. Like I say, just to summarize, like I think it's a nice change for junglers. I think it's a good change. It's probably affect bot lane a bit more than it will jungle, but I'm looking forward to playing a bit more on this patch, and it should be good. So I'm looking forward to how this will affect the jungle. So they're my opinions, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you found it useful. You can come check me out on my Facebook, which is here, facebook.com/foxdroplol. You can like my stream on Twitch, which is twitch.tv/foxdrop. You can also follow me on Twitter, which is twitter.com/foxdroplol. And if you really want to, on a Nook as well, which is nook.com/foxdrop. But they're always in the description, those links too. So you can check those out if you wish. But thanks for watching this video, guys. I hope you found it useful, and I'll see you in my next video.